Hi everyone, here's Simone from the studio. Welcome to this new video. This time I want to share with you a creation I made that is Deferred light engine. This Deferred light engine can render surfaces, and this is the result. I am using Flex so to drive this simulation, and we can interact with some forces and make the liquid behave with what is in the scene. The technique used here is a screen space liquid render technique, which is from this paper. Screen space fluid rendering for games, made from Simon Green and published under NVIDIA, because I guess this guy at that time was working for NVIDIA. And yeah, so the main goal here is that at that time was really hard to render a nice fluid, and which already to do it in real time nowadays is anyway a challenge. And they are using a particle-based structure that can gives this kind of result. There is some like not much math, and basically here they are like making some tricks to make it even more faster to render those spheres that are actually sprites, but in touch designer we are using spheres in my approach for now. And you get the depth. From the depth you can calculate the normal, I will show you later, and from this you can have a Gaussian blur, and this Gaussian blur must take in consideration the depth. In Touch Designer we have a Luma blur for this. Very cool. Is maybe what they're doing here in the paper is a tiny bit more accurate, but right in the world shader it's faster to do it with the Luma blur, and the results are pretty similar. So we will use Luma blur for this. So they are taking the normals and they are blurring them, taking in consideration the depth. Yeah, naively smooth, so you keep the edges of the structure but you blur inside. Okay, this is the things, and this is like the diffuse shaded surface, which you can actually calculate. Once you have the normal, you can write the light basically. Okay, this is the bilateral filter code, which we will use a Luma blur for this, and other stuff which you can read and explore yourself. Very good. So in Touch Designer we are having this guy here, and this guy here is running kind of fast. I have a kind of powerful machine, but cookings are really good, so you can expect, I don't know, I have a 4090 and a beefy CPU, so maybe we'll get, I don't know, double of this number, but still real time. I guess on a laptop you may hit 12 milliseconds, maybe, depends on your hardware, but it should run real time more or less in any machine. If not, you can drop down this to 30, depends. And since we're using Flex, this is Windows only. Sorry about that. Okay. Describing the network, so we'll get an idea of what is happening. So let's like stop everything so we don't waste resources. Here we have a pane, a drop pane, which is encapsulating some operator. This operator are mostly component, and they are all the pieces I am using in the simulation, which is driven by this Flex, and as a collider, this guy, and some actor. And the things to know is that you can select stuff here and you have it on the geometry. You can interact with an object in the geometry. You select it. Usually when you open the geometry it's with the end. Okay, so my end means I move. And if you need also to move, like if you select an object, you want to rotate around the object, you change this to object, and then we are rotating around the selected object, which is very handy in a lot of situations. And yeah, so and then if you want to move stuff from here and get the number directly in your component, you can use this, which is a, I don't know, lasso. You get something, and then here maybe they wanted to add something more, but you can move and with let's see if I remember, with R you can rotate, okay, and with T as transform you move. I don't remember if there's a shortcut for size. S, no, it's doing nothing. So okay, so this is little tips if you want to move stuff, and here is kind of handy because if you run the simulation, where are you? We can interact with the forces directly from here, which is, I don't know, it's nice. See, very good. Okay, go back to the network. Okay, so we are using flex. Flex is actually only rendering the depth, and I'm using the screen space ambient occlusion, so to make some shadow where they are supposed to be. Okay, then we have the emitter, which we can select and see. Okay, so this green guy, it's emitting. I don't know, this is this blob, this is that blob. Okay, you get the idea. Okay, so this we are rendering the depth. Why we are rendering the depth? Because we saw on the paper that we need the depth. So we do the render, and with the render depth top, we take this guy. So this is depth top, I guess. How is called it? Depth top. Yeah, this guy. Okay, and it took me a lot to understand more or less why those numbers, but basically we are reading the width, multiplying it by 2, which maybe you can then explore. All the variable here, since we are rendering in screen space, goes a lot of your gusto, but there are some stuff that maybe works better than other, and here I am actually taking the width, multiplying it by 2. You have other way to adjust it, but this is how I get a good depth for me. Okay, and this depth get normalized. It's not actually a normalization here, since we're taking the minimum and the maximum, and we are rearranging the numbers so to normalize them, and yeah, so better values. Okay, having a constant depth means we can structure construct something around this depth, which actually it's only a float. Okay, so if you take this float and you push a plane, which we can take the UV for it, for the other two channel, okay, we have a 3D representation, which I will show you in a second. Okay, so now we have to talk about the surface render. The surface render is powered by the meshy component, which I adjusted. A full example of all you can do with this will be soon in my pattern, but there's some stuff I want to adjust, and I also modified it here, so to make it nicer to see. Yeah, close this. I improve a bit the lighting. So this is the main guy. Okay, the magic is happening here. All the source is here. The other stuff you can do it with anything. Here we are doing good stuff. Okay, so let's analyze. We are taking the depth. Okay, then they are doing multiple blur passes, so to get the smooth, the normal. I am doing a blur here, so this is actually doing nothing, but maybe you want to adjust this a little bit here, and you see, if I then increase this, but you actually get this black stuff, but the fluid is more softer. Okay, and if you increase it, it's doing this. The magic is actually happening. The magic, how we are smoothing the normal, which is basically why you see a surface here, is done here. Ta-da! Hey, I know those particles, and now you get a fluid. I know those particles, and now you get a fluid. Okay, so 35 is a nice value. Can also experiment here, make it, I don't know. So here is where we get the normal from the shader that we will look in a second, and we are analyzing the normal. Okay. And yeah, the concept of this, why we have the 3D, it's because we are extruding a plane with depth, which is done here. Okay, so we basically have, you see, those are the points we will cast shadow on. Actually, we have to calculate the normal before, and this is the plane. I wrote it myself because I don't know, I like it better like this, but there is a component in the palette which does this point cloud depth projection. So maybe we can use this. I will try it. But this is actually taking the depth and making you this extrusion. Okay, I wrote it because I don't know, I feel more control, but maybe it's even better to use this. I don't know. This guy depth projection is what I'm doing here. They do it better. Okay. But for my stuff, I like it how I modify the value here. You have one parameter for this, which is this extrude. Okay, so no extrusion, this guy becomes flat, and we only get the screen space occlusion. Okay, then I find out that those numbers are okay, but you can make it 50, start to get something. Want to have more punchiness, so I do this. You can play around. Okay. Yeah, okay, so we analyze this part. We are having some input that are coming from here. Oop. Light setup. So now we start to speak about why we are having light. We are having light because there's a shader which is taking the surface we are speaking, and we are using some value in order to tell the pixel to be the color we want. I try to make it as good looking as I can, so I'm using color, position, sampling, and HDR, which you can rotate, and the fluid get the reflection, which I think is really cool. Like this shiny, I like it. And you maybe get also a bit of color. So now you have the color, now you don't have it. So like the changes are really slight, but it works. You see it better here because we have a render pass for the collider. A lot of stuff happening, but yeah. So now we leave it that we are getting the color, and then I don't know, I'm distorting it because I like the reflection better like this. You can even pass a banana if you like. Okay, so let's describe the light parameter. The light parameter, I try to make it, to build them so to be comfortable to use in the GeoViewer. Okay, so I'm using this null comp so to create my own light probes, let's say. And since there are some mismatch with the word space I get and the number, so I'm not matching one-to-one the position in the real life, I have some handles. The handles are not rendered, but they're here in the 3D, and they are, for now, how many lights we have? 4. Okay, so you have 4 handles, which are those squares. Okay, if I select one, and then I want to move it, I change the light. Very cool. I can change another light, I don't know. Okay, so those are the position of the light, and they go in pair with this. Okay, so first is first, second is second, third is third, so they match. So this is the position of the first light, this is the color of the first light, which we can switch off or switch on or change. Oh, goldy is nice. Um, okay, so there you can control the light. For now there is a fixed number of 4, but I will describe the code shortly, so you can add more if you like. Okay, then we are sampling also. We are sampling a lot of stuff. We are sampling also some the PBR texture, because I want to try to write a PBR deferred light system. So we are having the albedo, the roughness, and the metallic. Metallic is not doing much right now. Maybe next update will be better. Let's analyze the code. Okay, so we have one important rule, which is basically the license. The license is do the fuck you want. And if you want to support my work, you can go to my Patreon, spend some money there. This is the most important things of the shader. You can use it and do the fuck you want. Okay, so then there's a tiny description, but you can just listen to me here. Okay, we have the data input. The data input are those which we define a brightness. We are outputting the light result, and we are creating a buffer for the normals, and we are to read the chop. This is where we read the chop. This is chop. And then we have some shortcut. We have a structure for the texture which we bind. And then we have another struct for the light, which we can fetch with the shortcut. And here a lot of stuff, which like honestly 80% was given from ChatGPT, and maybe there is some redundancy here and there, but the result looks really good. So just a little tiny explanation. We are trying to build on a surface that doesn't exist a BRDF, a bidirectional reflecting function. So when the light hits something, the light behaves this object. So we are trying to fake this, and there's a lot of math. So this is how we are distributing the surface, basically. Okay, here we are building the surface, and this is actually to get the, if I remember good, the specular component, then a bit of Fresnel, because it looks different if you calculate this, and I don't remember this. It's a bit different, so I like to combine them. And then here basically we're calculating the normal, and we can get them because we are working with the texture. Okay, so if you put a number, so if you put a texture containing the depth, containing the extruded point, we can move it up, down, left and right in the pixel space, and with these finite differences we can approximate the normals. It's a bit tiny concept, but basically you need this, and you get the normal of a given point in a, if you can like stay in the texture. Okay, let's say maybe you are like in geometry, the geometry is free, then it's more art. Okay, we arrive. So here is where I learned some stuff. This guy, yeah, I posted the link. This is actually teaching really good lesson on how to write a blink font. Really interesting. And the rest, as I told you, is powered from ChatGPT. I mean, I know what should I ask, kind of precisely, and this app helped me a lot to find out the right math. Okay, so here we're reading the bindings, doing some stuff, and then we take the resolution, we calculate the normal. This say ciao ciao, we go next frame. I mean, we are doing a feedback, so frame policy. This texture is now good as it is, and we read it back. Okay, so here we see, we go to the feedback, the line 133, we go here. we go here, okay, and then we read it back. So here we take the feedback and we start to do a lot of stuff. Okay, this is the loop of the light. So here we got the normal back. Then we read the position, which is the extruded thingy. This guy. Okay. And then we create two empty vector. I mean, this we don't need it, test, but maybe you need it. And the accumulation is where we are accumulating all the light. So stay there. And it's a back 4 because maybe you need alpha. Let's see. Okay, then our view direction is this. Okay, that I keep normalized because it's better for calculation. So it's a direction basically. And then this is the loop of the light. I won't like go here and read it all. It's like disaster. Okay, but here we are getting the. Here we are like taking the HDR part and we are like smashing it with the specular component, which inside has also the Fresnel a bit, and then we are taking the reflection from the HDR, and then where are we sampling the HDR? Yeah, here. Okay, so basically for each light we know that we have a light direction. Okay, so if we opposite the light direction we're actually getting the opposite. Okay, and if we reflect this we got the direction of the light basically based on the normal. So from the normal map where I'm going in the opposite pointing to the light. Makes sense? So imagine you have your eye, you are the water and you're looking up. So you're moving with the water, okay? So your eyes are looking at the sky, which is our HDR, and we are sampling it, okay? So maybe you are swimming, you're watching the sky and you're moving with the water, okay? So this is here basically, okay? So the water is looking at something and this is the perfect sampling point for our HDR. Makes sense? I hope. This is actually blink fong based because the radiance is with blink fong. I may have to add the radiance as well, but for what I understood, the radiance I get it here is embedded to this, and this geometry Smith is actually calculating and taking into account the roughness as well, which is really important. So to create a BRDF that makes sense. And here we are calculating the specular part and we are taking the Fresnel as well in consideration. This. And then I'm actually averaging them and make an exponential curve so the specular component moves better. You can control it a bit with this number, but this is actually to since you get a really high texture here, it's like almost all white. The spectrum is almost all white. So if you then make it exponentially and you shrink it down a lot, but you don't go to 0, so it's good. Okay, this is the diffuse. Take the diffuse component and multiply for the albedo. Basically you get the diffuse, and here is the complex is how I'm getting the reflection from the HDR. So you see that they move it before, this is why they're moving, and then we are accumulating all the stuff for all the light in this vector, which we then output finally here, and we multiply it for the brightness. I hope that all of this makes sense. Took me a while. Yeah. We're doing some post production. Yeah. So we are having a render buffer for the colliders, which which I mean, if I put a texture to the collider, you see it goes above and take the texture of the light we are like from the surface render I'm using here. But if you don't if you don't texture the collider from the component itself, but you make a render pass and you smash it above, this is the result basically. So how to cut the render pass so to make it that you can put it in the scene. You're actually taking the opposite of this, the opposite of the screen space ambient occlusion. Here inside you have some composition, so disaster. Yeah, here inside you have some compositing happening. So basically here we have no alpha, which is kind of a problem. So here we're taking out the object a bit, and here we're taking the alpha, and this is the juicy part. It's here. Okay, so this is the main pass with all the object, and if you just put it on top, doesn't work really. So you need to take the opposite of this, become a little bit darker, and then you can cut it from yeah, this is cutting the real object, and then you can just edit. So we are having a post-production adding pass, additive pass here. Okay. That's it. I really hope you will do something really crazy for it. The performances are kind of good, and everything disappeared here because we are not in the right layer, but whatever. Have fun, enjoy, and if you wish to support me, this will be really kind from you. Thank you very much for your attention.